Kumar might be working today. I will note that he did not respond to his name call. Good morning, Mr. Hashida.
Morning, Your Honor. Lincoln Hashida representing Pueo. Present also is Keahi Warfield and Richard Ha.
Okay, Mr. Hashida, I don't want you to think I have a bad memory, but I thought we were expecting someone else in your stead.
Yeah, what happened was the circuit court had rearranged my schedule once I dropped your name. That Judge Amano would demand my presence here, and they quivered in fear and said, Mr. Ashida, you can appear whenever you want to. So we rearranged that schedule. Thank you very much.
So now I'm going to be in contempt.
No, I took the bullet, Judge.
Oh.
It's all good.
That's the main thing, you took the bullet. Lena Ala Slightholm. Lena Ala Slightholm. Not present. Again, if anyone sees her come in, please indicate it so we can note her appearance. Mailani Lee. Mailani Lee. Not present. Good morning, Mr. Sinkin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Lanny Sinkin for the Temple of Lono, and standing in special solidarity with Standing Rock today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinkin. Good morning, Mr. Kanaile.
Hello, Kakayaka Kaliko Naili here. And also for Standing Rock and Sacred Stone Camp.
Thank you. Stone Camp. Sorry, I didn't hear. Sacred Stone Camp. Thank you. Stephanie Tabata. Stephanie Tabata. Not present. Tiffany Kakalia. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha. Tiffany Kakalia present.
Aloha. And who's the other person with you?
This is Pohaku Pa'akaimana.
Thank you. Good morning. Glenn Keela. Glenn Keela. Not present. Dwight Vicente.
Dwight Vicente, present.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Vicente. Brandon Kealoha.
Aloha kako, kamahana, Brandon Kamahana Kealoha here. And I'm here under duress and coercion and a bit of sacrilege. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Cindy Freitas.
Aloha, Cindy Freitas.
Aloha.
Aloha nui kako, William Freitas present. I stand here in threat, duress, and coercion. And I also stand in solidarity for Standing Rock and all indigenous people throughout this world.
Good morning,
Aloha.
Mr. Freitas. And I think I just saw Lena Ala Slightholm walk in.
Good morning, Lena Ala Slightholm.
Good morning, Ms. Slightholm. And I think I earlier saw Mrs. Holy. Wilma Holy, good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last night I got all the dates from the Naniloa and put them into 3 calendars, October, November, December. And so those, I made copies of the calendars for you folks to take a look at. And I'm going to ask that you take the recess to figure out what works for you folks. We're not committed to these dates, but we will be hopefully by the end of the day. So if you can tell me what works, what doesn't work, we want to work together, but I have to leave it to you folks to coordinate as best you can and help us with this schedule. So that's what you have. And if you're a party and you didn't receive the calendars, we have extra copies here up with Mr. Weinhoff. So this morning we're taking the university's witness, Dr. Hasinger, out of order. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. At this time, we would like to call Dr. Gunther Hasinger to the stand. Dr. Hasinger has a PhD.
You're making your offer of proof?
Yes, I'm making my offer of proof.
Go ahead.
Dr. Hasinger has a PhD in astronomy and is the director of the Institute for Astronomy at the University of Hawaii. Dr. Hasinger will testify as to the role of the 30-meter telescope in the future of astronomy on Mauna Kea, the unique astronomical characteristics of Mauna Kea, TMT's scientific, economic, and educational benefits to the community, and the relationship of astronomy to the management of Mauna Kea.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Gunther, Hasinger, excuse me. Sir, would you raise your right hand? And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters before this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Dr. Gunther, would you state your name, please?
My name is Gunther Hasinger.
Gunther Hasinger.
Hasinger.
All right, thank you. Dr. Hasinger, do you have your direct testimony in front of you?
Yes, I have that.
And could you tell us how many pages are there, so we're all sure we're on the same document?
The direct testimony has 6 pages.
And
page number 6, no, sorry, 8 pages, and page number 8 is my signature page.
And that is your signature?
Yes.
And sir, everything you put into that paper you're saying is truthful?
Yes, it is.
All right. So may I offer you up to 10 minutes to summarize your direct testimony?
Thank you very much.
All right.
So again, my name is Gunther Hasinger. I'm the director of the Institute for Astronomy at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and I would like to elaborate on a few points in my testimony. First, for foundation, the Institute for Astronomy is a branch of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We have about 270 employees and institutes in Manoa, in Hilo, and on Maui. And we operate telescopes on Mauna Kea and on Haleakala. With respect to Mauna Kea, we are not involved in the day-to-day management of the mountain, but our kuleana is to promote and provide guidance regarding astronomical research, including long-range planning and visioning. I have joined the Institute in 2011, but my personal experience on the Mauna started in 1997. So now I would like to elaborate on a few points, and for me the most important point is education. So STEM, which is science, technology, and mathematics education, the pipeline starts in the schools. And what we are doing in astronomy is that we are increasing the fascination for astronomical research as a gateway for children into the world of science and mathematics. And so we do this, for instance, through the Journey of the Universe, which every year reaches several 7,000 or more children since more than a decade. And recently the observatories have added another element, which is the Mauna Kea Scholars Program, where high school and middle school students can directly get observing time at the telescopes for their projects. And we have a program for high school kids, which is called High Star, and that trains local high school kids to go to a university career in STEM fields. And the High Star alumni usually get prize fellowships. They win the local and the national science fairs and have so far received about $500,000 in prize fellowships and stipends. And we have a workforce development program, Akamai, which we actually do in collaboration with a workforce development program, Akamai, which we do in collaboration with the University of California, Santa Cruz. And we are inviting interns to the telescopes, but also to other industrial and project areas. And many of those interns are native Hawaiians, and they go to observatories, high-tech companies for jobs, not just in astronomy, but across many fields of interest. And Akamai is very special because it has a very fantastic retention rate of close to 80% in STEM stops. So 80% of the Akamai students actually are getting jobs in the place where they are dreaming of. And then I'm particularly proud of the academic education in the UH system, which is the undergraduate program in Hilo and Manoa, and then the astronomy graduate program in Manoa, which are some of the finest and most attractive in the country. We have recently graduated the first native Hawaiian PhD astronomer, and she is now making a career in astrophysics on the islands. Finally, all observatories and the university provide an excellent public outreach and general education program. And TMT's community efforts, together with matching funds from private donors, provide general support to strengthen this education pipeline across a broad range of activities. And they benefit thousands of students and Hawaii graduates. So this was the point about education. Now I would like to draw attention about why do we need so many telescopes up there and how do they work together? Because indeed there are 13 telescopes already. Why do we need another one? And this is because Hawaii is one of the best places on Earth to observe the heavens, and therefore it hosts the premier astronomical observatory in the Northern Hemisphere. And there has hardly been any astronomical breakthrough in the last 50 years where telescopes on Mauna Kea were not involved. You can think about black holes, dark energy, Nobel Prize winning science that is done there. And this is exploited by, or this is demonstrated by the fact that the scientific publications, our currency is basically the creation of knowledge which is documented in scientific publications. And those scientific publications from Mauna Kea are actually more than from the Hubble Space Telescope every year. And they are also more than our friendly competitors in the European Southern Observatory on the Southern Hemisphere. So Mauna Kea is dominating the world output in scientific knowledge in astronomy. And now the telescopes work together like instruments in an orchestra. You can imagine when you hear a musical piece, there are different instruments. There's a flute, there is a fiddle, there is a bass, and each of those instruments has a different tune and a different specialization. And I kind of say together they play the symphony of the stars. So more often than none is more than one telescope involved in a scientific discovery, and they work together like a clockwork. And with the construction and the operation of the TMT project, Hawaii will open a completely new book on discovery, ranging from the beginning of time to the quest of finding another nearby Earth that we could maybe travel to sometime. It will thus maintain its leading position in generating new knowledge about the universe, as well as producing a new generation of leaders in science, technology, and education. And so now I would like to address some points of the benefit of astronomy to our everyday lives, because you are rightly asking yourself, I mean, what do I have to do with this, and what is the benefit for my people? So first, Hawaii, as viewed from afar, has a reputation of a modern place of discovery. We are filling the sky with discoveries, and we are continuously trying to get celestial objects named with Hawaiian names. We recently have named a very large structure on the sky, Mauna Kea. There are dwarf planets which are called Haumea Makemake, and we are trying to continue to bring Hawaiian names on the map on the sky. Astronomy contributes significantly to the economy of Hawaii, and in particular the Big Island. And in 2012, the economic impact was about $168 million and about 1,400 jobs which were fostered by astronomy. This is actually not counting the about 1,000 jobs that are actually working in the astronomy sector themselves, in clean, high-tech jobs, not just for astronomers, but also for technicians, administrative. And contrary to many beliefs, the workforce in the telescopes is more than 50% local employees. And we are actually trying to increase that number because for the telescopes it's much better and more efficient to hire local than to bring people from the mainland who are then leaving after a few years. And so it's really in our own intent to increase the local workforce. Astronomy in Hawaii also contributes significantly to the protection of our planet. For instance, against asteroid impacts, we have asteroid watch systems and also space weather when the sun is spitting out high energy particles. And another example that affects all of us directly is the VOG forecast. We have the weather station up on Mauna Kea, and it does a very great job in predicting the weather. And for all of us, the VOG map that comes out from Mauna Kea is very important.
What is VOG?
The VOG. VOG is spelled V-O-G. This is the volcanic smog that comes out of Kilauea.
Okay, thank
and
you.
is distributed around the islands.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Now, one point is astronomical discoveries usually take a long time, often several decades, before their benefit to society becomes visible. Nevertheless, they have a huge impact. So if you, for instance, think about quantum mechanics, which is the basis for computers and for electronics and so on, quantum mechanics was discovered in astronomy. Or if you think about the GPS system that is now guiding us through navigation and ships and other things, this was discovered in astronomy 100 years ago. And today, quantum mechanics and the GPS are producing more than about 40% of our gross national product are based on discoveries made in astronomy 100 years ago. And also, for instance, the very worrisome physics of climate change has originally been discovered in astronomy. When we studied the atmosphere of Venus, we realized what will happen to the Earth if we continue to heat up the Earth. And so if we study other planets, we can actually learn what needs to be done to save our own planet. And one important factor is also the technology. We are, in order to do our job, developing new technologies in detectors, in adaptive optics, in software. And these technologies also are a catalyst for future economic development in Hawaii that goes far beyond astronomy. So for instance, IFA innovations have spun off new Hawaii businesses working in remote sensing or in new technologies for solar power. And I would like to end in this tone with a specific example that you may be able to relate to, where I have personally worked on a technology development which is now benefiting society. And you take your glasses, many of us have these variable focal glasses. And when you remember our mothers or grandmothers, they had the bifocals where there are the cuts in the lenses. And that is because opticians originally were only able to polish round surfaces, but through astronomy and through our work, they actually learned how to polish any arbitrary surface, and now they can polish glasses that we all are wearing. So we have a direct impact on society. Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Hasinger, TIO?
Your Honor, we have no questions for Dr. Hasinger.
Thank you, Mr. Shinyama. Ms. Ward?
Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen.
I understand from your VD that you are the chairman of the University of Hawaii at Manoa's Institute for Astronomy. Is that correct?
Director, yes.
Yes. And can you tell me what the role IFA plays in the management of Mauna Kea telescopes?
Yes, so...
A little slower?
Sorry?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what role.
Oh, can you tell me what role the Institute for Astronomy plays in the management of Mauna Kea?
Yeah, as I said, we do not have, right now, we do not have a direct responsibility for the management of the mountain. This is done by UH Hilo, but we have the responsibility to do the long-term planning, the astronomical visioning, and we are the contact partners to the observatories on the mountain with respect to what happens inside the domes. So you can roughly say University of Hawaii Hilo is responsible for the land, and IFA is dealing with everything that happens inside the domes.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell me how that differs from the role, well, you have told us a little bit about how it differs from the role of the University of Hawaii with regard to management of the Science Reserve?
That was related to the Science Reserve.
Okay. So is the UH Manoa's Institute for Astronomy the applicant on the Conservation District use application?
No, the University of Hawaii is the applicant.
Okay. University of Hawaii is. Uh-huh. And is it the University of Hawaii at Manoa where you work?
No.
Objection beyond the scope of the record.
Are you going someplace with this?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let the answer stand.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So what is the role of the IFA in operations and management of the TMT telescope project, if it's not the applicant?
IFA doesn't have a direct role in the management of the mountain, as I said. We are participating in the long-term planning and in the visioning, and we also participate in the scientific exploitation of the telescope, so utilization.
Okay. Dr. Hasinger, have you been provided a list of you have provided a list in your testimony of the natural characteristics that make Mauna Kea one of the best viewing locations?
Yes.
And those include low humidity, low light pollution, stable atmosphere, and location at a favorable latitude. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know if these are the natural resources that are defined in the law that require protection in the Conservation District?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you agree that the subject of this contested case hearing is the Conservation District use application?
Yes.
Okay.
Overruled. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Have you read the EIS and the Conservation District use application for the TMT project?
Not in its entirety.
Are you familiar with the analysis of cumulative impact in the environmental impact statement conducted?
Objection beyond the scope of the record.
Is this leading someplace?
Yes, it is.
All right, so I'll ask Dr. Hasinger to answer, please.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay. Is it your understanding that the document that the TMT Corporation procured from Parsons Brinkerhoff is a valid environmental impact statement?
Do not answer.
Objection argumentative.
Max Foundation. All right, so you have not established that this witness is qualified to answer that question.
Okay,
based on his personal knowledge.
I'm trying to find out where in the development of the TMT the role of Institute for Astronomy is active. And so I'm trying to find out, I'm trying to unpack where the IFA fits into all of this. So if the Institute for Astronomy is not part of the application or part of the EIS, I'm trying to figure out where the Institute for Astronomy has fit in. So I've just skipped a page and a half of questions.
It's okay, you ask whatever you need to, but my point is, you can ask him that question directly.
Okay.
Because he's qualified to answer that.
Okay. Where does the Institute for Astronomy fit into the development of the plans for the Mauna Kea, for the 30-meter telescope project?
We are fitting in as far as it concerns long-term visioning and strategic planning. So our institute, not me personally, was involved in the early discussions about the future of Mauna Kea, and we are still involved in the discussions about the future of Mauna Kea, but only with respect to astronomical visioning and planning.
Dr. Hasinger, I wonder if you could move the microphone closer to you, because I want everyone to be able to hear your testimony as well as myself.
Thank you.
You stated on page 2 of your testimony that the 30-meter telescope would play a role in the quest to discover Earth 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you state that if this Earth-like planet might be several light years away, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do the rules...
Excuse me.
Sorry, yes.
He didn't give a response.
Oh,
a
sorry.
sound is not a response.
Okay. We're all learning.
Well, I'm sure you want to have
Yes, I
the
do.
word
I do want it on the
written down.
record.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the rules of the Conservation District?
I'm loosely familiar with them.
Okay. Do you know whether the rules of the Conservation District consider the future planetary discoveries?
In a sense, they do.
How would that be?
Well, all the elements that I was discussing about the public health and the public knowledge that is in principle in criteria number 8.
I see. So as far as you're concerned, the development of astronomy relates to public health and welfare?
Yes.
I see. Can you tell me whether finding an Earth-like planet is a criterion for construction of an 18-story building in the Conservation District?
Objection, lack of foundation, argumentative.
Can you lay some foundation, please? Why is this witness qualified to answer that question?
Well, he says that finding an Earth-like planet is part of developing and improving the health and welfare of the people of Hawaii.
And so your question to him is?
Right, well, I'm going to deviate from my set of questions, and I'm going to ask a little bit more. How exactly would knowing that there is an Earth-like planet that is several light years away improving the health and welfare of the people of Hawaii?
As I said in my summary, the study of extrasolar planets helps us understand how our own solar system develops and what we can or need to do in order to, for instance, keep it that way. So physics that is derived from astronomy has been the foundation, as you may well know, for global warming physics. And if we study other planetary systems, we can actually see what happens elsewhere. And if we find a habitable planet, or maybe even a planet with life on it, that is a huge input in our knowledge what we can do with Earth itself.
You say that the possibility of the developments on Mauna Kea, particularly with the 30-meter telescope, could possibly enable future generations to fly away to another planet.
Yes.
Do you feel confident that, I know I'm going to get flashback on this, but do you feel confident that human beings know enough about protection of planets to make that a successful endeavor?
Sorry. Objection, argumentative, call for speculation.
Overruled. Please answer the question.
I think flying to another planet is a dream which is probably taking several hundred to 1,000 years. By that time, we will probably need to send stuff there. We need to send cameras there to look and so on. We will not enter the sphere of this other planet to be able to learn about it. And I would very much hope that in 1,000 years from now, we have actually had a chance to solve our own problems on Earth, because otherwise it's too late.
Other than agreeing with you about it may be too late, I will continue. You state on your page 4 of your testimony that the 30-meter telescope might contribute to public welfare by studying asteroids. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are there any other telescopes in the world studying the orbits and trajectories? Oh, are there any other telescopes or observatories in the world studying the orbits and trajectories of asteroids?
Yes, many.
Would the TMT itself be able to stop or alter the course of an asteroid?
Yes, there are actually scenarios, realistic scenarios that have been trained and played by the community driven by NASA. Last year there was a workshop over 3 weeks where a realistic threat was simulated. And what happens, we first need to discover the asteroid, for instance, on telescopes on Haleakala with pan-stars and so on, and then we only get a relatively rough orbit. And if we find something that is really posing a danger to Earth, then we have to observe it more and more accurate. And in the end, telescopes like the TMT will actually decide, will have the exact measurement power to decide whether that asteroid hits the Earth or not, and even where it would hit the Earth. And this has to be done many, many years in advance, maybe 30, 40 years in advance, so that you can actually still do something about it. You could fly there, and you could try to push the asteroid away. So telescopes like the TMT are a crucial element in saving the Earth in that way.
Well, thank you for that. Can you tell me whether there are other telescopes being constructed now or already that are already functioning that may be able to provide that same information?
So there is one telescope being constructed or starting to be constructed in Chile, the European Extremely Large Telescope.
Mm-hmm.
There's another telescope planned for Chile, the GMT, Giant Magellan Telescope. They have diameters between 25 and 39 meters, and the diameter is actually the one that is sensitive. I mean, that is the most important, because that defines how accurate you can localize these objects. And the point is that these are on the southern hemisphere, and TMT is supposed to be built on the northern hemisphere. So if the asteroid comes from the north, the southern telescope cannot see it, and vice versa, we cannot see the asteroids that are coming from the south.
Are there other high elevation locations, geographic locations in the world in the northern hemisphere that could adequately house the 30-meter telescope?
In order to answer that question, I may need to elaborate a little bit about why Mauna Kea is so special. Because my answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
But if it's fine with you, the answer is no.
Okay. Have the technologies that you mentioned generated as a result of the work on Mauna Kea been patented?
There are some patents that are developed from work that is arrived on Mauna Kea.
Have any of those patents been generated by people at the University of Hawaii?
There is two patents that are generated by one of our faculty members.
Have those patents generated any funds for the university?
No, not yet, but they in principle can.
In principle, then, would those funds generated be shared with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to benefit the right holders of Mauna Kea lands that have been ceded to the state in trust?
Objection, lack of foundation.
I'll ask the question a little
You may answer
simpler.
that if you know the answer. If you don't know, you don't know.
I may need to correct myself. I mean, this is not based on work done on Mauna Kea. It's based on work done in our institute.
I see.
Dr. Hasinger, do you mind moving the microphone closer?
Yes. Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
So let me rephrase that question. Have any funds generated or that will be generated by patents generated by university faculty, is there a mechanism for sharing those funds with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs?
I don't know.
Okay. On page 3 of your testimony, you cite economic benefits of astronomy. And you quote from Exhibit 33, which is UH Hero report from 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
On page 4 of your testimony, you state that the astronomy provides close to 1,000 jobs in STEM fields. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you tell us how many of those technical and administrative positions of the 50% of local people that are currently that are currently employed? You've mentioned that in your testimony. How many of those people are working on Mauna Kea?
Usually the telescopes are employing people that are not all working on Mauna Kea. They work in the base facilities, and then some of them go up to the mountain. So only a small fraction actually works up on the mountain, and the rest works in sea level facilities.
I see. Is working on the mountain somewhat hazardous?
Yes, you have to have special health permits to work on the mountain.
Are the people that work on the mountain required to assist with people who are injured or having health problems, such as heart attacks?
We have a number of rangers that are working on the mountain specifically for this purpose.
Are the telescope operators who work in the telescopes such as the Subaru or the JCMT, are they required to be available to assist people who are having health issues?
I don't know.
This relates to public health and welfare. Can you tell me what the salary range is for the people who work in these positions?
Honestly, I don't know.
Can you tell me if the Institute for Astronomy is liable or responsible for any safety violations or safety issues that arise?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Sustained.
Dr. Hasinger
You're asking him if the universities or the IMF is liable?
Well, I'm trying to say, are you is the Institute for Astronomy responsible in any way for ascertaining and maintaining safety provisions?
We have some relation because the Institute for Astronomy is actually the body that is organizing the Mauna Kea support services. Mauna Kea support services are responsible for mid-level facility, for grading the road and other things, so we also have some responsibility for safety.
Because you elaborated to some extent in your written direct testimony about the economic benefits of astronomy, and you don't know the pay range, at least that's what you've said, of the people who work in the facility, are you aware that some telescope operators are needing taxpayer funds to cover food stamps and Quest because they are not paid very well?
No.
Strike the answer, sustained. And there's no foundation for that question.
I know. You know, we have such short notice.
Mr. Kayama, she represents herself. She certainly can explain.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
As a person who lives on this island, I am well acquainted with several people who work at the telescope facility.
And are you going to testify at some point about your knowledge?
You know, Dr. Hasinger was slipped in, and I do have some knowledge of this, and with a day's notice, I was not able to get the documentation that I can get, but I'm asking whether he's aware of the salary range.
Dr. Hasinger was scheduled to testify this week from last week.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know,
there was a significant amount of time to prepare.
Judge Amano, I'm sure you're well aware of how few hours of sleep we're getting right now, trying to get ready for cross.
And I'm there.
I understand. We're all in the same boat, but some of these pieces of information come to us at 2 in the morning.
I get that, and same here. But the point being that for you to testify, that becomes evidence, but your question is not evidence, so.
I'm just trying to find out how much, since Dr. Hasinger is reporting, Dr. Hasinger is a physicist. He's reporting economic benefits and saying that this is public health and welfare. I'm trying to ascertain whether this is indeed public health and welfare or whether it's a drain on the taxpayer. And I don't know how to ask the question other than ask what the salary range is. And if he doesn't know it, I can understand that he doesn't know it. I'm trying to find out how much he does know.
I understand what you said. But putting your knowledge to him doesn't mean he has to accept that, and it's not his knowledge.
I'm just asking if he knows.
So repeat the question,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask that you lay the foundation, which you've done well this morning.
Okay.
And I think you understand the concept that
I do. Yeah.
we have to be fair to our all witnesses, yourself when you testify as well.
Right. Maybe I could ask it this way. Do you know if any of the telescope operators currently working in telescopes on Mauna Kea are receiving taxpayer benefits due to their low salaries?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's completely
Thank you.
news to me.
I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Ms. Pisciotta?
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Good morning. Okay. I don't know. After listening to some of the testimony here from Mr. Hasinger, did I say your name right?
Roughly. Hasinger.
Hasinger.
Thank you.
Hasinger. I think his testimony should be struck because I believe this contested case hearing is not about the merits of astronomy. I'm not against astronomy. We've never been against astronomy. This is a case about a permit for a conservation district use application. And I believe that the merits of astronomy are not at issue. And for example, if they were building, it's a land use issue. So if they were building a hospital, we would have the same issues, but that would not mean we were against healthcare. And same here. Astronomy, we have testified repeatedly that astronomy is a noble endeavor and it should be supported, but it also has its limits, and some of the limits happen to be physical limits relating to land use on Mauna Kea. So that would be what I would like to offer first if, yes, I would like to have it struck.
There's a motion to strike the witness. Mr.
Not him, I mean, but his testimony. I didn't mean that funny. I don't mean, I'm not attacking him personally. I have no intention. I just wanted to make, I didn't mean
It's really a term of art.
Sorry.
I meant that you wish to have his testimony struck.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Obviously would oppose any motion to strike his testimony. His testimony is entirely relevant. It goes to the purpose of the conservation district, and it goes to the criteria HAR 13.5 30C criteria 4, 5, 6, and 8, and that we ask that Your Honor deny Mr. Pisciotta's motion.
Thank you. The motion is denied. No, sir. You're going to get your opportunity, and that would be the time that you can make your own motion. I can't hear you. Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead, Ms. Pisciotta.
So does this objection mean that he can answer questions on the 8 criteria or not?
Ma'am, you moved to strike the witness and his testimony. I've denied the motion. Please move forward.
No, I'm asking the question though, because if he is going to be here, I'm going to ask him questions about the 8 criteria, but I don't want him objecting. He said that they apply.
Everybody has a... Please move forward with your next question. I'm not striking the witness.
Okay. First, I guess, did you write your testimony, Mr. Hasinger?
Yes, I did.
You wrote it personally? You didn't get any assistance? Okay.
There was no response?
Yes, I did. I mean,
okay.
I already answered the question.
I'm sorry?
I thought I already answered the question.
You did not. That was
Okay.
an okay question. Go ahead.
Okay. You testified a little earlier that the IFA has some patents, and I think the question was if there was a mechanism for OHA to receive benefits of those patents if they're sold. My question would be, is there any mechanism for the public for any of those monies to be put into the public fund, like the general fund?
I don't know.
And you said that those patents were not based on the technology on Mauna Kea. Is that correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled. Go ahead. This is a foundational question to something else.
I was referring to 2 patents that I
Sorry,
have.
she just.
Sorry.
Could you repeat the question and perhaps Dr. Hasinger can answer?
Yes. I'll try to repeat the question. I thought I heard you say earlier that your testimony, that it was your testimony that the technology from those patents was not developed on Mauna Kea, from the telescopes on Mauna Kea. Is that correct?
I was referring to 2 patents that I have a personal knowledge of. I don't know how many other patents are in the university system, but 2 patents have been developed by one of our faculty members. A lot of the work has been done before he came to UH at Caltech, and they have been developed in the lab for applications that could later go onto Mauna Kea. So it is not what I said is the work for those patents has not been done on Mauna Kea, but it has been done for Mauna Kea to be applied later.
Do you know of any patents from even other telescopes that exist?
No, I don't.
So you don't know of any other technologies that other telescopes would be involved in getting patents for?
There may be technologies that one can get patents for, but I just don't know personally about them.
Okay. Let's see. How long have you been the director of the IFA?
Since 1st of January 2011.
How long have you lived in Hawaii? How long has he lived in Hawaii? Is my question.
Lived in Hawaii, I have the same time. So I moved here to become director, but my connection or my experience with Hawaii ranges back longer because I have observed on Mauna Kea for many years, and I also was at a sabbatical here for a short period, 3 months' time. In 2007, sorry.
Yes. Okay. Are you an American citizen?
No, I'm a green card holder.
Okay. That doesn't matter. I'm just leading to another question. You don't have to be an American citizen. It leads to this question. Are you aware that Native Hawaiian rights are protected, our cultural rights and our traditional rights are protected under the state of Hawaii's Constitution?
Your objection?
Objection, lack of foundation. The cross-examiner has not established that this witness would have any personal knowledge of.
Yes. Sustained.
Are you aware that in Hawaii we have a constitution?
Yes.
Are you aware that the United States has a constitution?
Yes.
Are you aware that constitutions in general establish people's rights?
I don't know.
You don't know if constitutions establish people's rights?
As I say, I don't know because I don't know which constitution we are talking about.
Any constitution. Both the state and the federal constitution establish rights of the citizens of their country, and even though I myself would argue that I'm a subject of the kingdom as well, I'm under duress, a subject or a citizen of the United States and the state of Hawaii. So I'm just asking you if you know or understand that the constitutions enumerate our rights as citizens.
Mr. Sanderson.
Objection, the cross-examiner is testifying, compound question, argumentative.
I'm going to object to the objections because I really don't understand. I'm just trying to ask if he's aware that Native Hawaiian rights are protected under the state of Hawaii's constitution.
And I think he answered your question already.
I didn't hear him answer that one.
Okay, then you can ask it again.
Are you aware, Mr. Hasinger, that Native Hawaiian rights are protected under the state of Hawaii's constitution?
No.
Okay. Do you understand that, actually, let me ask you this. Did you know that on December 2nd, the Supreme Court of Hawaii made a ruling regarding our case, this case that we are here now to do? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to read the findings of the Supreme Court justices?
Cursory, I read them, and I was also in part of the Supreme Court hearings.
So when the Supreme Court said that Mauna Kea was of, sacred significance to the Hawaiian people, how did you understand that, or do you even remember that part?
Assumes facts not in evidence, calls for a legal conclusion beyond the scope of direct lack of foundation.
I do understand calls for the legal conclusion, but I wasn't, but I'll reframe it.
Okay.
Okay. Do you understand that Mauna Kea is a place of reverence akin to how other peoples may view their temples, church, or synagogues?
This is you're assuming certain facts, what you represented in your question, that then qualify the answer. That's why it's an unfair question.
Okay, let me break it down. Right, it means I have to break it down.
Well,
smaller
it
pieces.
means that you have to put a question there that has facts that are already before us. You mentioned the Supreme Court case, fair enough.
Right.
And he said he looked at it cursorily. Then you may ask a question, and if he knows, he can answer. We all know he's not a lawyer, so his answer will be as a non-lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
I will try a little bit more on that. Okay. Let me, I think my questions are kind of compound, just, sorry. The Supreme Court stated that Mauna Kea is a sacred place. Would you agree with that? Did you see it?
I didn't see that, no.
Okay. So you've probably heard Mauna Kea referenced as sacred.
By some people, yes.
And is it your understanding that sacredness and reverence is how someone might also think of, say, the Vatican? Is it
argumentative?
Wait, I didn't hear the rest of the question.
I just want him...
No, just finish the question so that I understand what you're asking.
Yes. That it's sacred like the Vatican or other churches?
I have a...
Argumentative, assumes facts not in evidence.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Okay.
I cannot answer this question because when you compare Mauna Kea to the Vatican, these are two completely different beasts. We would first have to define what it is that is sacred about Mauna Kea in order to be able to compare to the Vatican. From my point of view, Mauna Kea as a whole is not sacred because Mauna Kea as a whole goes down to the sea level and we are right now sitting on Mauna Kea, so it cannot be sacred as a whole, but it is clear that some people regard some significant areas as sacred, and then you can compare these areas to the Vatican.
Okay. I think I would ask, do you understand that Native Hawaiians believe that Mauna Kea is sacred in the similar way that Catholics might believe that the Vatican or St. Peter's Cathedral are sacred also?
Ms. Pisciotta, where are you going with this line of questioning? Because this gentleman was testifying about astronomy and his relationship to those issues, and we've deviated from his direct, which we're calling beyond the scope of direct examination. So are you going someplace back to the astronomy, or are you trying to make a point about the sacredness of Mauna Kea to Hawaiians? If you are, this is not that witness to make that point with.
I'm only asking if he understands that.
And why is that relevant to this guy's testimony?
Well,
Pardon
I
me,
actually
didn't
don't think any of his testimony is relevant to this hearing. That's why I objected.
Well, I have a different view of things, and that's why I overruled your motion.
Okay. I have more questions. I can move on. When you hear Hawaiians saying that building the TMT is a form of desecration, does that disturb you?
Lack of foundation calls for a personal opinion outside the scope of direct.
Sustain on all objections.
Okay. I can't ask him just his personal feelings
about
the subject of this hearing.
Okay, so everything that's being testified to is evidence, right? Because he's the person who's testifying under oath. So what he says is evidence.
Okay.
Can you ask him about whether the Cubs or the Browns are going to win the World Series? Or Indians rather are going to win the World Series? No, because yeah, he might have a personal opinion about it, but it's really not material to our contested case hearing.
Well,
so if you can tell me why his personal opinion is relevant to this hearing, then maybe you can ask the question. But right now it looks like it's beyond the scope of his direct and certainly outside his area of training and expertise.
Okay, then I will renew my concern of the fact that their direct testimony limits our ability to ask questions that are relevant to this case. If they don't, all they have to do is confine their testimony to only what they want to talk about, and then we never get to impeach or challenge the validity of that.
You always get to impeach. If your question is meant to impeach, then go ahead and ask it. But that's not what I'm hearing. If you're trying to make a point about the sacredness of the mountain or then that isn't going to be made through this witness, is my point. There's a lot of testimony to come.
I'll just make my objection again. Okay, I'll move on. So, so it was your testimony earlier that the Institute for Astronomy is not the entity that is on the CDUP application. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
You understand in the past that Institute for Astronomy was the entity previously that were on other applications for the same subject matter, which is the construction of telescopes, right?
Yes, I understand.
Do you know when that relationship ended and Hilo took that over?
I know.
Okay. Can you tell us when that is?
2000.
Okay, 2000. Okay. So, if you know, is the Hilo on the CDUA application?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay. And can you, if the transfer happened in 2000 and how did that happen?
You are probably referring to the state auditor's report and the developments from that.
Oh, no.
No?
I was just asking, how did that, how does it transfer? Because,
Okay.
yeah, how did that transfer?
Do not answer. Your objection, Mr. Sanderson.
We object to this line of questioning, and it would ask for an offer of proof.
Yeah. We cannot hear you.
We would object to the line of questioning. We would object to the line of questioning and ask for an offer of proof.
Can you?
What's an offer of proof?
What is your line of questioning designed to show?
I want to know what mechanism. Is there a document that says that IFA is no longer in charge of the Mauna Kea Science Reserve and Hilo is?
So what is the point of that?
Because he's the director of the Institute for Astronomy. They used to be in charge, and they're no longer in charge, and it would help if we know who is and how that happened.
What is the point of that in relation to what I need to know?
I don't know.
Well, then,
I mean,
it's what I need to know because I have to make the decision that makes something relevant or material. Okay?
We're looking for a chain of custody, so to speak. Like, we went from IFA, University of Manoa, IFA controlling the Mauna Kea Science Reserve, to now the University of Hilo controlling the Mauna Kea Science Reserve, and I don't know how that went, how that changed.
If you have a point to make, then that's what I've been asking you. What is the point? But I'm not getting an answer. I think you're telling me you'd like to know, but you don't really know the point of the question or why you're going there. That's what I'm hearing. If I'm mistaken, I would ask you to correct me, please.
Well, then I think we would have objections to the lack of that chain of custody, so to speak.
Chain of custody is...
I'm not sure what the word is, but basically, who is the party that is responsible for everything? Is it the University of Manoa, IFA, or is it Hilo? Who's responsible for any liability that may occur on the mountain?
So I'm asking you why that's important for me to know.
Because I believe the proper parties need to be listed and identified for the purposes of liability.
Okay, I'm going to sustain the objection. I didn't get an answer that I can understand on my inquiry about what is the point of this questioning.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I don't understand the question, but I can move on.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get this. Can you pick that up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I wanted to put something up there. This is on, not sure if that. Sorry, let me make sure I mark this exhibit right. Hold on. Okay. What I'm putting up is exhibit R1 or A001 from the CDOA HA 3568 on page 1-3 of section 1, and it's also under figure 2. And it says, yeah, that's what that is. And I don't know that, can you push it up a little bit so we can see all the, yeah, okay. Maybe just a little bit down, yeah. So, I'm just gonna ask you some questions from this, okay?
Yes.
Can you establish first that he knows what this is?
Yeah, do you know what this is?
I can read that it is from the Conservation District Use Application.
Yeah, and that it's an...
Establish also that he's seen it before.
Have you seen it before?
I'm not sure that I have seen exactly this diagram, but similar diagrams I have seen before.
You understand that it's an overview of the summit area?
Yes.
Okay. Can you point to me where the Subaru telescope is? Number one. I think you can use that legend on the bottom. Yeah.
It is number 1.
Okay. And can you show me the Keck telescope?
Keck telescopes are number 2.
Okay. Are the Keck telescope is 2 telescopes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And sorry, I don't have the, okay. And then can you point out where the NASA IRTF is?
Yes, the NASA Infrared Telescope Facility is number 3, which is here.
Okay. And then the Canada, France, Hawaii.
The Canada, France, Hawaii telescope is number 4, which is on the summit ridge here.
Yes, okay. And then how about Gemini North?
Gemini North is number 5, next to the Canada, France, Hawaii telescope.
Okay.
To the Canada, France, Hawaii telescope.
And then the UH 2.2 meter or the 88 inch?
88 inches, number 6 here, and it is the one in line after the Gemini telescope.
Yes, okay. And then the United Kingdom Infrared Telescope,
Is this
Kurt?
going someplace?
Yes.
Could you ask the question? I think we can see the diagram, and we see the legend. We also have it in our computers.
Yes.
So if you can get to the question, that would be helpful.
I am trying to get to the question, but I got to lay the foundation of that question. That's why I'm going through this.
Why don't you ask the question? I'll let you know if you've laid the foundation.
Okay. So you can identify also the UH not 0.9 meter.
The Hoku Kea
yes.
Educational Telescope, yes.
Yes. And then the Caltech sub-millimeter observatory.
Yes.
We're going to take a 10-minute recess, please.
Okay.